And now a 60-second completely improvised speech by Alex Knight about if candy didn't exist, what would witches make their houses out of?
Like lumber, bricks. But I see the nature of your question. Children's skin. I'd make a house out of children's skin. But I'm trying to lure kids in there, so I'd make it out of skin, human skin, kid skin, chid skin. We'd call it chid skin, but I would make it colorful and wallpaper so it doesn't look like chid skin. Isn't chid? Chid sounds like a slur, but that's what witches call children from now on, chids. And you're trying to get chids in there, so you're going to use chid skin, but you're going to hide it so it doesn't look like chid skin. They're going to come in there and get more chid skin. Chid skin, Sarah.
You did great. That was fantastic. That's exactly what you should be making the house out of.
All right. And now a 1 minute riff about if you had 3 strong men and you could make them do anything for a day, what would you make these 3 really strong men do?
If I had 3 really strong men just in my life all day, I will tell you that the only thing about being married to a woman that means that we're without men is that it's very hard to open jars. You will stand around our whole kitchen and be like, are we going to starve to death? What are we going to do here? So if I had 3 men, I would have them open all the jars, quickly eat jarred goods, and then have them reseal them. But then I got them. What am I going to do with them for the next 23 hours? I guess I'd let them take a nap probably at that point. They've gone through a lot. But then also we'd get back up, and I think it'd be fun to watch them go do something dainty, like put them into a ballet class. I think that'd be kind of cool. Get them on let me do some tumbling. I think
15.
Okay, great. Ribbon dancing. I think 3 really strong dudes doing some ribbon dancing or like a floor exercise would be just stunning and a real sight to behold. So.
And time.
Great.
You're just gonna make fun of them.
No, I don't make fun of them. I want them to do something that gets them outside of their
comfort
zone. And
right.
They help me out so much. It's the least I could do.
Yeah, no, I don't know what I would do with that question. That's too much time for too much muscle.
You just between Kelly and I can carry most things.
Yeah, no, you don't need these men was the true answer. I don't need
the jars. Yeah, the jars really are that's a tough one.
You're like one guy, 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Go. Good.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. Chid skin. That's what you wanted to go with.
Chids.
Great. Good.
It's not.
Welcome to the Goofball Coalition, the podcast that lives where improv and stand-up collide. And now, here's your hosts, Alex Knight and Sarah Kennedy.
Oh, hey, it's the Goofball Coalition, where the podcast where improv and stand-up just like open jars for Sarah and Kelly. And I really appreciate their help. My name is Sarah Kennedy. I'm a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, I'm Alex Knight. I'm an improviser.
Right. And I cut him off when we went into the intro. What were you going to say?
No, I was just asking if it was a slur. I looked it up. Chid, I think, is the past tense version of chide.
Oh.
So instead of you chided someone, you chid them? Anyway. All right.
Wow. Good. I'm glad.
There's certain structures, word sounds that feel bad. And that one did feel like it was like a negative thing. Like these fucking chids.
Yeah. Like a chud, kind of like
it's like a chud. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What is that? A subterranean dweller underground?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. So today's podcast is all about, am I correct? You are going to help me write a joke?
Yeah. So just for full transparency here, Alex and I have done this exercise before because we had a completely other episode that we recorded and I went to go edit it and there was no audio on it at all. It is a fully silent film of us looking at his notebook.
It's a great episode.
Yeah. And if you are following us on Patreon, we're going to do something funny with that footage. So if you aren't following us on Patreon, you should get over there and follow us. But for today, we're going to go back through it because it is very structured. And I'm hoping that there'll be another episode too, where Alex runs me through a few like warm-up exercises or some stuff to get us
figured out,
improv brained. But for today, we're going to talk about some tips and tricks about writing jokes. I brought a clip from a comedian that we could look at, and we can dissect a joke of theirs, and
Mhm.
then talk about why it works, and then hopefully apply that to your
Okay.
own material if you're cool
Let's
with that.
do it. Let's do
Okay.
it.
So I have pulled the tape of a local comedian here in Albuquerque. His name is Chuck Parker. He has been performing here in town for a number of years. He's fantastic. We love having him at Dry Heat. And the tape is from the night that we had Jim Jeffries drop in. And he kind of kicked off the show, and the crowd was like really excited to be there. So
Cool.
it gives you like the best possible scenario for seeing this joke out in the wild.
All right.
All right, let's go. Look at him. So what's important about this joke you're about to see is that Chuck Parker looks a lot like Jesus, and he kicks off his set by always saying, like, I know I look like Jesus. So here is the bit.
Some people say I look like Jesus. Some people say I look like Charles Manson. There's a lot of vigorous head nodding going on there. Maybe I need to change my look, because I don't want to look like a guy that's known for having a following of violent, brainwashed fanatics trying to bring about a race war. Or Charles Manson.
All right.
All right. Yep. That's pretty good.
That's the bit. And he has a couple laugh points throughout it. So the first one is when he calls out the room and he says, "Oh, I see a lot of vigorous head nodding happening here."
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one comes after the punchline at the very end, which is what you're supposed to do with a joke.
Mm-hmm.
So he makes you think he's talking about Charles Manson, and in fact, he was talking about how the violent nature of most Christians.
Mm-hmm. What is that head nodding move there? What is that? Would that always be in there, or would that not be? Did he see that and he added it, or is that always part of that joke?
I don't want to tip Chuck's cards on that, but yeah, like that is a completely normal thing to do in joke writing, is to bake in some things happening in the room, and then sometimes you can even bake in moments where you do real genuine crowd work and call out something about somebody and then bring it back in.
Or you can have that as like, if I see a head nod, I know I have that there, and if not, I might not. But sometimes you will. You'd be like, this guy over here, I just saw him like,
yeah.
But
sometimes
that might be fake. Maybe
if the audience doesn't agree with you, but somebody in the crowd does, you can be like, this guy knows what I'm talking about. Like one of those kind of things too. So that's a perfectly good way to do some sweet comedy. And then the end is a classic redirect where you just take everybody down a road and then you quickly surprise them with something at the end. And the element of surprise is really the key to most jokes. You want to get that little pop at the end. So.
Yeah, so interesting. Like, I knew what we were getting into, so I was like looking for it and feeling for it. I wonder how many people, like how often you trick people and get to actually pull that off, and how much that even matters, because it didn't matter to me. I was like, oh, I see where it's going. Great. Like, I'm happy to go there. Even if it's not a big surprise, it's still like, even if you see it coming down the road, you're like, oh, it's a cool turn. Yeah. Whether it's instantly a surprise or not, it still works or whatever.
I think one of my favorite things about Chuck in general is he has this rhythm that you just kind of like get into. And so like he lets you know, laugh, and then he'll get back into that rhythm and then he'll just like laugh. And so sometimes
isn't that weird? Yeah, we almost want just like, to be trained or whatever, and like be good audience members, and like, we'll do what you want if you command with, confidence and all that.
Interesting. There's a comedian, he's very famous, Ron White. And he does a thing where, and he talks about this pretty explicitly, and where he always has a drink in his hand when he's on stage, and it's got like whiskey on the rocks or something in it, and he'll say the whole joke, and then at the very end of it, he'll just kind of shake his glass a little bit, like he's looking at the inside the glass. Over. Yeah, and then like it's almost like Pavlovian, where it's like now laugh, and then everybody just goes, he shook his glass again. It's time. Now's the time when we laugh. And
because even when it doesn't work, he goes the glass or whatever, and you go, okay, that one didn't work, but yes, I understand why it should have. Yeah, interesting. All right. Yep. Okay, so I walk into your teaching establishment and I want to write a stand-up joke.
Great. You come to the writing circle on Sunday. We usually, like if you were coming to writing circle, and that's facilitated usually by Steph Darnell, and he does the same stuff pretty much every week. He does a writing prompt where everybody has to write on the same kind of topic. They share He'll go over some theory or topic that's important to comedy, and then at the very end, he'll do a joke workshop where you get to go up on stage and just kind of work out something that you've been thinking of or trying out and not getting results that you want, and then people will give you feedback. So we'll treat this a little bit like the first part and a little bit like the last part. So you come in. Do you have a bit that you've kind of thought of, or do you want to prompt?
Let's prompt it. Okay. Let's go from some scratch here.
So on Sunday, the prompt was a mistake I'll never make again. And so that's kind of like what we do too, where it's like you got to do you could riff on it for a second and we can kind of mine it, or we could.
So first thing that came to mind was I bought a new car recently, because we had talked the last time we did this. It was about how I totaled my car twice. Totaled the same car twice. But this time, so I got a new car, and it was the first time buying. It was a used car, but it was still like buying a new car, like a used car. And so I had to sit down at the table with all the shit and these are the possible upgrades of this and all that shit. It's very stressful. And at some point in there, I remember them going blah 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 tires, blah 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 blah, and looking at my wife and going, no. And then like a week after I have my new car, I come out and there's a big piece of metal stuck on my tires and it's flat. And I'm like, fuck, and I take it back there and I'm like, did I blah 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 tires? And they're like, no, you blah blah blah, no tires. And so I had to get a new tire, and it was like $200 or whatever. It wasn't too bad. And they had originally told me, I got a Subaru, and they told me like, when you lose a tire, you got to replace all 4. And so I don't know how true that is, but I was like, oh God, like, did I just fuck up and now I have to buy 4 new fucking tires for this brand new car? So maybe the mistake I won't do is maybe I'll get the blah, blah, blah tires next time.
Okay, great. This is good. Fantastic work. Okay.
Cool.
So the good news about the stuff that you just said out loud is the repetition of it is especially blah, blah, blah tires, like that's a good thing that you could really lean on. And you almost rule of 3'd it, because you mentioned blah, blah, blah tires multiple times. And if you were going to turn it into a rule of 3, the trick would be to do a couple, set the pattern and break it, or escalate it each time. And then it makes the payoff of repeating it. Like,
so maybe end like blah, blah, blah tires, and then end with a blah, blah, blah tires.
Or you could do like, you could do kind of like you could do something like, it's like they was blah, blah, blah windshield. No, blah, blah, blah tires. No, and then at the very end of the joke, you can say like, and that's why from now on I do blah 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 everything. Like, really, cool. You can escalate it.
Sure. We're not writing a perfect joke. We're just writing a joke.
If you're out there listening right now and you're like, what the? That's not. No, don't worry about it. We're just going through this is like. There's a quote from E.B. White, who humorist and Charlotte's Web author. E.B. White. He says that. Looking into why a joke is funny is like dissecting a frog. It like kills the frog in the process.
Oh yeah.
So we're just killing a frog today.
Okay,
I completely butchered that quote, but looking into an E.B. White quote is like killing a frog too. Yeah. So
okay.
Okay, cool. So let's look at some other things that were good about that joke. So number 1, it really happened to you, which is really cool. One thing that it's a joke lie, which you can always exaggerate in a joke, and you can tell joke lies if you need to. One of the things they say that you should do is make it as recent as possible. So you could even say like yesterday or earlier today if you're going to do it on stage.
And I should probably cut a couple, like another tire or something. No, like is it more or even I have to replace all 4. Like it's a total fucking lie to my audience.
You could.
I go, and it's a fucking Subaru, and apparently I got to replace all 4. So now I have to pay fucking $1,000 on top of, because that's way funnier than me having to replace 1 tire, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you can feel free to do that if you want to. I just think as long as you make it like yesterday, this happened in my car. I just bought it. Okay. Doing that is going to give people a chance to care about it a little bit more, because if you say like a couple years ago, the crazy thing, people are like, what? Why are you telling me something from a couple of years ago?
Isn't that weird how it needs to be relevant?
Yeah. So then a couple other things that you could do is this is like a John Mulaney kind of trick to do, is like if you look at the entire joke written out and you pull a couple terms or things in it, you can go on like a little tangent joke and come back to the main story to keep people. In I Am Comic, there's a bit with Jeff Foxworthy where he says, like, you either have to do jokes that are like diddly boom, diddly boom, or you have to have jokes that are a long story where it's like diddly boom, but you have to have little booms before you get to the big boom because you can't have too much diddly before the boom, is what he says. So even if you have a big payoff at the very end, you have to kind of keep them with you and get little jokes all the way through.
You need little appetizers. Yeah, I can't just be like, the main dish is fucking great. Show there.
And if we go back to Chuck's clip, it's
the head nod is one of
the
those,
head nod
right?
thing gets you like little laughs before the big laugh. So
so I can be like, you know, and this guy's looking at me and he's like, yeah, whatever. I can describe the car dealer man or whatever. Or I can do a little side tangents or something about that.
You can definitely do that. You can also do like Subaru is like that is already like a comedy dog whistle for like a lesbian joke. So you could say this like, you know, like the lesbians in the crowd know what I'm talking about. I had to get 4 different tires or something like that. And like,
I'm glad you say this because I have been told a little bit that it might be lesbian adjacent, and it's totally cool. But yeah, it was just funny. Like I wasn't sure if I could even call it that stereotype, but that is a known stereotype in the comedy world.
Cool. Oh, 1000%. That's like that's the go-to. I think the crowd would be disappointed if you didn't mention.
All right, cool.
About it. So you can even say like if you didn't want to.
It's Subaru because I'm a lesbian.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Just be like, some of the stuff they offered me was crazy. Like they offered me like a dog carrier for my mini rescue dogs. They were like it came with a free rainbow sticker. It came, you know what I mean? Like Ani DeFranco CD was already in the car.
Yeah. The old
like,
owner.
Yeah, the XM radio stations were for like Lilith Fair and Sarah. So like you could do that kind of stuff too, and you could riddle that if you. I mean, it depends on how long you want to. Really
I mean, it sounds like
for too long, but
the new car could be my 5 minutes, and then like if I wanted to, and then I would sprinkle all this stuff in there.
Yeah,
but like you could probably get quite a bit of longevity from a small joke, kind of, right? I imagine you can build around it and end up creating.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, Gary Goldman. This is advice I got from my friend Chris, who got it from Gary Goldman, where it's like, if you get the chance, you should look at a joke from every possible perspective. So look at it from the car, like what is the car thinking? Well, like look at it from the dealer, like what was he thinking when you said no to a tire warranty? What was, you know, your wife, get a little bit more into her perspective. And then you can also do things like 10 years from now, what are you going to think about that story? Like, what did people do in the like prehistoric times when the wheel was invented? Do you think that they had a warranty for the very first wheel? Like there's a way, like, so you can put a bunch of different contexts on it and get even more out of it. And you can take something as simple as that one story and you could turn it into a 10-minute thing if you really wanted to like, mine it. So,
I mean, it seems like dangerously too easy. None of this was good, but to create it seems easy. To just be like, and then this, and then fucking this, and then I'll talk about the caveman. Like it sounds, sounds easy to start to create content, but to then trim it down and polish it seems like the tougher part. I mean, really tough to start writing, but once you start, it seems like I could just keep going. Like you said, there's all kinds of angles. I could, what did that guy see from me? What did the car see from me? Who had it before me? All that stuff. There's tons. You can, I mean, I think that's
who stabbed your car tired. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing too. Where it's like, oh, somebody who obviously knew that I was down on my luck, or like something we could do. And so
that was a fucking Subaru dealer guy. Whatever it is. Like,
so then that's the best part too. Is like you write all that out. And then when you go to open mics and you hop on stage, then you just spit it all out. And even just hearing yourself say it out loud gives you the chance to kind of be like, oh, I wish I had said that. I'll switch those the next time I say it. Or they didn't really care about the caveman part, but they did like the stuff about my wife and then that kind of stuff. So then you just refine it and refine it and refine it. And you, I mean, not anymore, just because everybody puts everything on the internet, and so you kind of have to get new material out quickly. But there are some people out there who work on a joke for 10 years and never say it the same way twice, and just wait until it unlocks something, and then bank it. But
how often do you start with like a where's my finger? A kernel, and then that thing is no longer, so we're writing this about my tires, but then it ends up being this whole bit about. It's a Jerry Seinfeld bit about cavemen and cars, whatever. I'm like, that seems like a bit he would do, right?
Cavemen inventing coffee.
Yeah,
cars.
But like, how often do you start with what you thought was the thing, and then you've spun out, and it ends up like the joke was not at all that joke, and it was totally something else better?
Well, I'm working on a joke right now. It's not funny. It's a joke about the premise of it, because I pulled it from like a prompt thing, and it was just like, what's a phone number that you have in your phone that you should probably delete, but you haven't. And I had all these ones where I have like pseudo famous comedian numbers in my phone, and it makes me nervous. Like, it feels like I'm holding like a bomb.
Yeah.
But then now when I tell it, I don't even talk about my phone anymore. I just talk about how before I met my wife, I dated a girl who was in charge of programming at Comedy Central, and how I didn't end up with her. And so like it just shows that like I couldn't sleep my way to the top because I did it. Although I am married now to a comedy club owner, so that's
Yeah, you did it.
so.
Weird.
But even to get to that point or whatever, I've had to like completely reiterate it because the first time I told it, it had too much diddly before the boom, too much explanation. And so.
Yeah, and that seems like definitely, I'm sure you've seen a lot of that. Yeah, where someone, it is just like, it's just a tire joke, man. Why are you building all this other shit around it? Like, because in a weird way, that final joke needs to be worth, worth the buildup or whatever. Even if you have a lot of diddle booms on the way, if that last one's not.
I read in a book one time, and I can't believe I've been so good about citing my sources this episode, but this one I can't remember where it came from. But you have to think of your premise as like the fuse to your bomb. So it's like, if you need a long fuse because it's a big bomb and you want to run away before it goes off, you know what I mean? Or if it's like, but for the most part, you want as short a fuse as possible so that it goes off before whatever you're trying to bomb
figures it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even that Chuck one, like I saw it coming a second before, but like there is a world where if he had cut a couple more words out of there, he might have caught me off guard. Yeah. Interesting.
I'd argue that all those words are like
perfect,
meaty, choicey words.
Oh yeah. No, I'm saying like like, and depending on the average audience or whatever, just for me, if he wanted to get me, he would have needed to pull one or two more out. But again, I was listening to it like, where's the joke? So
that's how audiences are. We got really smart audiences at Dry Heat too, so they're pretty good about like.
Are they getting smarter?
You don't have
kind of joking, but kind of not at all. You've been doing this for a long time. I'm sure your audience.
Oh, so we talked about they're smart people. They're new audiences, so it's like they don't know the etiquette of comedy so much, and they now after 2 years they've really got it. And now that there's multiple clubs in town, they really got it. But even if they didn't know to laugh out loud or whatever, they still they understand concepts and they understand stuff. So you can see them nodding vigorously, if you want to call out Chuck again. But sometimes you got to be like, you got a part in this, you got to woo, you got to laugh, you got to clap. So so it's nice, but it's one of my favorite things to tell, like when we do get drop-ins, like this is the Jim Jeffries one or whatever. Like
they're smart but new.
It's small. It's a small room for a guy like that who can fill up like an auditorium or whatever. But everybody's smart. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to dumb down your jokes or like that kind of stuff. People will go with you if you want to talk about historical figures or make references to Shakespeare. If I want to call out the last episode,
inside jokes. Okay, cool.
How do you feel about that? Does it give
you good. I feel good. Yeah, I mean, it's not done, but I don't want to go through the thing of actually cleaning it perfectly. But like, no, I think that's like great. That would that gets my brain going and like shows me a lot of tips and tricks of how to like do that. That's so exciting. It's so fun. Yeah. Like, and it's the same thing in improv in a sense. It's like the power's in you. Like, there's nothing stand up has that like you don't have the equipment for. Like, it's right here. You just helped me, like, you made me think of a thing in my real life and then like build around it, find the humor around it. And then, perspectives is huge and all that. But like, that's just so nice to just, I did it. It's not a lot, but like it's a little thing. And like, it's the start of something. I think, we should probably we should make me do a set sometime soon. We should slowly build it and then do it for the show. And then we can put it up here or whatever.
Yeah, that's cool. And I have all these, like, that's one of those things too, where it's like, I'm such a junkie about the documentaries and like the process of comedy, which is why I don't really listen to podcasts by comedians, because they talk shop, but they don't talk about it as granularly as I need people to. So I'm pretty good for remembering all of these things too. So workshopping more stuff is good. And every Sunday we do it at downtown. So it goes.
Yeah. When is that? What time?
Sundays from 11 to like 12:30, because there's improv classes right after us, but it's free. And it's every week, which means like, because it's Sunday and then there's mics every day after that, you could start exactly like you did today,
Mhm.
and then go out and hit a mic every night. And by the end of the week, when you'd be on a show at Dry Heat, have a perfectly polished bit if you really wanted.
Oh my gosh. People do that. Do that.
Neat.
I mean,
All
what
right.
what an easy way to get started. Yeah, go check out the Writing Lab.
Yeah, I mean, we have people come sometimes who've never been on stage before, and I think that that's also a nice way to kind of be like, obviously, the best way to get started is to jump on stage and get going. But
Yep.
if you need that second to kind of think through what you're going to say when you get up there,
Yeah,
it's nice.
cool.
Okay, third segment time. Here
Let's
we
do it.
go.
I want to ask you just in the third section, like a little bit about. So yeah, you did recently have Mark Maron and Jim Jeffries in there, big, huge stand-ups. How did that like affect everything? Like the pros and cons, like.
Sure.
Yeah, were the other comedians, how did they feel about it? I'm sure there was boosts of like excitement about having them there. Also, like having to share space with someone that is bigger than you. We've had that in our improv theater and stuff. So yeah, how were those comedians coming in? How did they affect your community and your space a little bit?
It's been interesting too, because it's like, first off, it's exciting as all hell, and it's really cool. And the way that they reach out to us was completely different. So Mark Maron emailed us, and Jim Jeffries found us on Instagram.
Mhm.
And then so even the like going back and forth and getting it set up, I have to keep in touch with the people I've already booked, just being like, hey, this might really change things for tonight. And so most of the time now, with the way we run things at Dry Heat, I don't even send out like a group text or anything about what to expect, because most of the people know to be there 8:45-ish.
And we'll
And-
find out what's up then. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. But for this one, I had to make sure that they knew. And then also, because they're so big, we can't ever advertise if they're going to be there. But we do try to, it also needs to be very full. So like, I have to figure out a way to sell out the show the day of, without naming them. But you can't say there's a special guest, or you can say like something very cool is going to happen. And so that's kind of what I've been leaning on. And
then there's a terrible world where they cancel. You're like, hey, tonight has to sell out. Come. It's going to be good. Wink, wink. And then they don't show up or something. What an awful situation.
Yeah, that was the first night of Jim Jeffries. Like he just said, oh, I'll probably come by sometime this weekend. And so Friday night, sold it out, had people come in with the like promise of somebody big. And then we did, I mean, ultimately we had a special guest close out the night, and it was Josh Fournier, who is an incredible comedian. I dare call him local because he's almost always on the road, but he and he had just gotten Netflix as a Joke festival. Like he'd just gotten accepted into that, and he'd just gotten back from Sketchfest in San Francisco. So people are very lucky to get to see him. Yeah, exactly. I was like, you're lucky. I can't believe you guys are upset about this. And they weren't upset, but you could, even he called it out from the stage where he's like, you thought. So, but then the next night we had to do it again, sell it out again. And maybe he's going to come by, and he did that time, which was nice. But,
I don't know. Like, fuck you. You came down, you paid a ticket, you saw a pretty good show, and you're upset because it wasn't the other, whatever. Get over it. Come back next week. We're trying our best.
And I will also say the lineups, like we're always working to make sure that there's like a wide variety of perspectives and ages and all kinds of demographics on our shows. And I luckily check off a couple boxes for that. So I'll do even a tiny set. Like I'll just do like a little $5 right up top, just to provide some balance to the lineup. And because these people wanted to do drop-ins, I'm the first person I'll cut. So like I was like, I'm not doing a set tonight because we got to make room for the other people.
Yeah.
And it did mean that we had a couple shows where there was like a woman, and then like, or one where maybe there wasn't. No, all of them have had a lady on them, but they've just kind of skewed because of who the drop-ins are, also toward a doodly perspective, which is okay. But I could see that kind of rubbing people the wrong way if they are of other demographics. So
sure.
And then it has been exciting, but both of them did a thing where they were like, oh, at other clubs, the drop-ins go way too long, and I'm sorry. And then they just like called it out the room, and then they just kept going anyway. And so at one point, they both in the middle of the show did like 40 minutes. Yeah. And so it meant the crowd was pretty left out, and it took a lot to like get them back on board. And then also it would be like short set, very long set, entire show almost. And then short, and so like it kind of makes for a weird. If we're
Yeah,
talking
just the
about
tempo's
rhythm.
all off. Yeah.
So,
Huh.
but ultimately, so excited.
Audience loved it, right? Good for the theater.
Audience loved it. It is the greatest gift they could ever give us to have come through, and we also treat that with a lot of respect. So if anybody else is out there and ever comes through Albuquerque and you want to do a drop-in set, we do it discreetly, and we do it. You clearly can have as much stage time as you want, and then if you're just a regular traveling comedian, that's another thing that we like to offer is like you can come in and do a guest spot on our shows for the most part. We'd work really hard to get people up. That's not, I mean, don't do 40 minutes for that. But so.
Sure. I mean, just even down to, the community's not small, but it's not huge. And it's, new faces are probably so nice for you guys to see. We love when we see new improvisers, as rare as it is. It's like it's nice to see people play differently, to do the thing differently and inspire you and push you.
That's awesome. What you got coming up? What do you want to plug?
I mean, just our classes, shows every Friday, Saturday night. Come check it out. Yes, that's all. We're all downtown.
Yep, same with us for Friday, Saturdays at 9:30, and same address even. Just come on down.
Come on down to Comedy Corner.
Yep. All right. Well, good. Thanks for going through the exercise.
Thanks. Bye, y'all. Thank you. Thanks, Sarah.